Clinton Yates, Jen Latta, Harry Lyles Jr., and Bill Barnwell, a national panel that can recall exactly how they felt at the moment of their birth, just like Chargers coach Jim Harbaugh. We're comfortable, we're safe, but boy, do we have a lot of opinions. Plus, a potential $325 million extension for Brock Purdy. 49ers window to win with an inexpensive QB may be closing. But could San Francisco eventually cycle in a new quarterback in exchange for paying the stars around him? Thank you for that, Bill Barnwell. Let's go around the horn.
Thanks, Bill. Ever since I was an embryo, waiting to shape up and ship out.
You know what? Since I didn't use the mute button much yesterday, you're all getting yesterday's mute today.
You know, it feels like being born. It feels like coming out of the womb, you know? It's like you're in there and it's comfortable and safe, and now you're out, you're born, lights are on, you know, it's bright, chaos, people looking at you, people talking at you, and just feels good to, you know, have it happen.
The one and only Jim Harbaugh on the Chargers' first day of training camp after 9 years away from the NFL. And if that does not scream football guy, Harbaugh showed up to practice Wednesday wearing cleats. It's a new day for the Chargers, a team that has not won a playoff game in 6 seasons. They're looking to get a depleted offense back on track under the guidance of a coach fresh off a national championship at Michigan and who, took a team to the Super Bowl in his last NFL job. Bill Barnwell, to you, what do the Chargers have with Jim Harbaugh at the helm?
Well, I know a lot of Chargers fans who felt like watching the team last year did feel a lot like childbirth, so I understand where Jim Harbaugh is coming from with this comparison, but they are going to be a playoff team this year. They are the secret team that nobody is talking about over the summer because Jim Harbaugh is a football EMT. Remember, he went to the Niners all those years ago. They had not had a winning season in 8 years. Immediately, they jumped to 13-3, made it to the NFC Championship game, were in the Super Bowl a year later. He goes to Michigan, a team that's had one 10-win season in the 8 years prior to Harbaugh getting there. Immediately improves them by 5 wins and gets them to 10 wins and a bowl game. Michigan, the Niners, even going back to Stanford, Harbaugh has been a coach who makes an instant impact wherever he goes. I believe this Chargers team is going to be in the postseason, and we're going to be sitting here saying, of course, great coach, great quarterback. Why weren't we thinking about them in July? Here is your chance to jump on the bandwagon while you can.
I remember watching that Raiders game on Thursday Night Football last year, Clinton, thinking, okay, childbirth would probably be easier, getting a root canal, probably a more favorable thing to do than watching that offense. What do you make of the changes that we expect this year with Jim Harbaugh at the helm?
I know the analogy sounds wacky in terms of childbirth, but let's not forget the reality of the situation. Jim Harbaugh played for this franchise in San Diego. He is returning to somewhere he's already been. On top of that, we saw in the clip, the Bolt in El Segundo, right up the street here. People are excited about this on every level and on a from a football standpoint. What he's doing in order to try to make up for all the injuries that this team has had over the past couple seasons, he's staggering practice times over the course of days, over the course of a week, so that they don't have to have anything less than 24 hours between workouts. And when those workouts, he's got his guys wearing full pads in drills so they feel like they're actually playing football, his cleats aside. He is changing the culture of the Bolts. And I'm telling you, as somebody that watches this team week in and week out just kind of as a sideshow, they are no longer that. They're the real deal because when Harbaugh gets there, you're a real live football team.
Jen Latta, how do you hear Jim Harbaugh? Obviously, we know that this quirkiness is who he is. You cover college football. You dealt with it when he was at Michigan. But when you pare down those comments and just know the intent he has for this team, how do you think it works out in his first season in L.A.?
Yeah, hiring Jim Harbaugh makes them interesting. I think he makes them imposing. We shouldn't be surprised about oddball comments from Jim Harbaugh because this is the guy who did donuts in a muscle car on the field at the Big House. He also did sleepovers with players. He always talks about how great milk is. I mean, odd things from Jim Harbaugh are not unusual. And neither, frankly, guys, is turning programs around, which is what he did at every stop he has been at. If you look at how the 49ers were from 2007 to 2010 before Harbaugh got there, they were averaging averaging 6.5 wins per season in the previous 4 years. Harbaugh gets there and immediately 13 wins, 11 wins, 12 wins. And why, guys? Because he has an infectious personality. It's an authenticity that I think a lot of college coaches try to find, but have to really manufacture. When he turns it on, and he can be very prickly, but when he turns it on, guys, he is one of the most interesting, charismatic, authentic, magnetic personalities in all of sports. Watch out for the Chargers. They're going to be tough this year.
So this isn't shtick. We know this with Jim Harbaugh. And Harry, you in the college football world as well have seen him go into a Michigan program, even take a pay cut when things weren't looking so great a couple of years ago, and then the result is a national championship. Should we be thinking playoffs in the near future for this Chargers team, knowing that Jim Harbaugh is their head coach?
I don't think that's out of the question. Like, it's not like he's going into a job where the circumstances were bad. In fact, this is a Chargers team and a quarterback in Justin Herbert where we looked at them and we're like, oh my God, it's right there, but it's not quite showing up. This is a guy that always gets all of the juice out of the orange. Justin Herbert had to have been elated when he saw that Jim Harbaugh was going to be his coach, because I know we like to laugh about all the weird things that come out of his mouth, but that dude knows ball. Like, that is something that is unquestionable. He gets the most out of his quarterbacks. He always has a solid to great defense on all of his teams wherever he's been. And I think one of the things that's going to be really interesting to see as this team improves with him alongside is the buy-in that he is going to get from the city of Los Angeles, because currently they don't love this team yet. He's going to give them a reason to love this team.
We have been horned, but I will say, when it comes to Justin Herbert and the pieces that the Chargers have put around him, whether it's Ladd McConkey, whether it's Joe Alt, I know there has been a departure of talent, but it certainly seems like the Chargers are trying to get things in place, so pretty soon they will be able to contend. Moving on now to Major League Baseball, another loss for the New York Yankees, this time in blowout fashion, marking a full season sweep by the Mets in the Subway Series. The Yankees are 10-22 since beginning the season, 50-22, and there's plenty of blame to go around, from a leaky bullpen to an inconsistent starting rotation to the middle of the batting order behind Juan Soto and Aaron Judge. But if you ask manager Aaron Boone, it's not time to blow things up in the Bronx.
We got to play better, okay? We have it right in front of us. We're a really good team that have played of late. We're right there. You know, we're watching, other teams struggle around us. We know we got to be better.
How many times have we heard that from Aaron Boone this year? Clinton Yates, same story all season long with this Yankees team needing to play better. But what kind of message did you hear from the manager of the New York Yankees on Wednesday night?
I think our former colleague Booney is talking to everybody except the people in that room, and I'm referring to not only his front office, but his clubhouse as well. This is a good baseball team. We've seen that evidence. Their run differential is one of the best in the league, and they're only a game and a half behind the O's in their division. Sometimes it comes down to performance, and there's nothing wrong with that. And the reason I say that is because with the trade deadline coming up, yes, could the Yankees be the Yankees of old and make a ton of moves just to turn things over? I think Booney is saying that he believes this composition of guys can get it done in this division at the very least. And so the honesty is something I appreciate, especially out of a guy who I feel is managing for his job if he can't get to a World Series this year.
That's what it sounds like, Jen Latta, that this was Aaron Boone not just speaking to the media, but maybe speaking to the Yankees front office to keep things intact here ahead of the trade deadline. Did you hear it the same way?
Well, he's speaking facts, obviously. They are right in it, just a game and a half back of the Orioles. They're in control. That is a fact. So, yes, I think he is saying all the right things. It's like he was given truth serum. And maybe people don't want to hear this, but I think this is a team, because they won 50 games over their first 72 games, that can still go back out there and win. Let me use an analogy that Harry will appreciate. Back in 2021, after 104 games, which is how many games the Yankees have played, the Atlanta Braves were 2 games under 500. What did they do? Go on to win the division and win the World Series. Why? Because they had a good August and a good September, which is what baseball does. There are ebbs and flows. There are highs and lows. This Yankees team is going to get Stanton back. They're going to get Dominguez back. They are a team that you should still be thinking playoffs with.
I feel like we've been hearing about Giancarlo Stanton coming back for a very long time now. Still have not seen it happen. But Harry Lyles, do you buy Jen's approach that your Braves used a couple of years ago? Just wait this thing out and see if they can do it?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds so simple, but they really do. Eventually, the bats have to wake up. For the Atlanta Braves, unfortunately, they usually fall asleep at the wrong time. But for the case of the Yankees, this has been a two-man offense, basically, in this terrible stretch with Juan Soto and Aaron Judge. Their OPS is 1061. The rest of the 7 guys lineup is 625. So those 2 guys are batting the best in baseball, and the rest of the team is batting only better than the White Sox. That is a very clear problem. Their bullpen obviously could be a little bit better, and you see that frustration coming from Aaron Boone being their best has been better than everybody else's. They're just playing just as bad as anybody right now.
Yeah, the Chicagoan in me cringes when you say any team is playing as poorly as the Chicago White Sox. Bill Barnwell, to you, how did you hear Aaron Boone?
He sounds like someone who needs a little bit of help, but he doesn't want to blow things up. Courtney, you mentioned that 10-22 stretch. One of the reasons they've struggled, they're 1-7 in one-run games over that stretch. That's just bad luck. That's not bad play. They were 10-7 in one-run games during that hot start to the season. And maybe if you have a bad bullpen, that might cause that. But they're 7th in bullpen ERA this year. They do need another bat. Maybe they need another starter or another reliever. But they don't need to give up on this year. They have one of the best records in all of baseball, and they're getting bailed out by the fact that everyone around them is also playing kind of stinky baseball as well.
Stinky baseball, something that nobody wants to see their team do at the second half of the season. This is a $300 million payroll, though, so you'd like to think they'd be able to be more than a 2-man team with Aaron Boone, Aaron Judge, and Juan Soto. All right, so there's the horn. And with Lincoln Riley saying he is not a magician, we'll have the panel buying or selling that coming up next. Out of sight, but certainly not out of mind. The San Francisco 49ers open training camp without All-Pro left tackle Trent Williams, who is now officially a holdout while looking for a reworked contract. Meanwhile, receiver Brandon Ayuk is present but not practicing while waiting on a new deal of his own. So 2 contract-related absences affecting 2 of the best Niners players, resulting in a holdout and a hold-in. Bill, buy or sell the current state of the 49ers?
Buy that this team is in their window to win right now, and that's going to decrease dramatically next year as Brock Purdy gets paid a massive extension. And because of that, all the people who might be moved to create space for Brock Purdy next year understandably want their new deals right now. Brandon Ayuk is the last of the playmakers to not get an extension. Trent Williams has no guaranteed money left on his deal. He could be a guy in his late 30s who gets moved next year. He wants a deal now to assure that doesn't happen. So from San Francisco's perspective, they have to figure out a way to make all the money work right now before they confront the $60 million gorilla that's facing them with Brock Purdy down the line.
Harry Lyles Jr., what are you buying? What are you selling?
Courtney, I'm buying the windows open, but they really got to jump through that thing right now. I mean, this is part of why losing a Super Bowl is bad enough as it is, but they had an opportunity to get the Chiefs when we have seen them at their weakest in the Patrick Mahomes era, and they didn't do it. And so now you've basically got one more year now before all of this gets expensive. That's honestly the cost of being good in the NFL. But if they're going to pay one guy, they need to make sure that Trent Williams is happy. He is still the best pass blocking tackle in the NFL at 95.8%. As long as he's good, Brock Purdy's good, everything, hopefully after that works out.
Jen Latta, I hear a little bit of commotion around the San Francisco 49ers team. Everything seems like it's in the right place, but you've got 2 of your best players wanting new contracts. How should they handle this going forward?
They should pay one of the best players in the league in Trent Williams. He is a future Hall of Famer. Unless you expect him to fall serendipitously off of a cliff, you pay Hall of Famers. And I think that Brock Purdy, who has him protecting his blind side, would agree with that. Trent Williams has no guarantees left. He also has 3 years left on his contract, which is probably why the Niners are balking at his request to get more money. But they can't say, we don't pay guys who have years remaining on their deals when they just paid Christian McCaffrey, who had 2 years left on his deal. It is time to pay the piper. Your free financing period is almost up, Niners. Go ahead and give Trent Williams the deal he wants.
Clinton, I don't know if it's just your face, but you look really skeptical right now as Jen's talking about the state of financial affairs, doling out the 49ers money for them. There you go, Jen. doling out other people's
I would say that everything is not in place. The state of the 49ers union is chaotic. When two of your best players are still trying to figure out what they're doing in training camp, you don't really know what your, in fact, long-term decision on Purdy really is going to be, because as Harry mentioned, if he can't get over the hump in a year like that, well then what's the point? You might be able to find something better. And on top of that, Kyle Shanahan is out here offering Bill Belichick jobs at what cost? He doesn't know how to even keep his own draft picks to get a quarterback.
Oh.
I get it. This is a good football team, but I understand this is not as easy as it looks.
So, Bill, you have a piece up at ESPN.com right now on the window the 49ers are in this season. So it's either to win right now with Brock Purdy while he's still expensive. I think he accounts for less than 1% against the salary cap this year. What would a massive extension for Purdy next year mean for the 49ers? And is it possible that they would look to pay the stars around him and go a different route at QB in 2025?
It is incredibly brave to think about. I don't think they will actually have that conversation, but maybe they should. The only quarterback to win a Super Bowl on his second contract in the slotted draft era is Patrick Mahomes. Guys like Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, those guys who were essential to their teams, traded away before the second deals really even got into play because the team gave up on them. Brock Purdy at $1 million is a bargain. Brock Purdy at $65 million, not so sure.
High expectations for the San Francisco 49ers, maybe not so much for Lincoln Riley and the USC Trojans. Big Ten Media Days, Lincoln Riley saying he's not a magician. He can't wave a magic wand and have everything be perfect right away, end quote. USC entering a new conference coming off an 8-5 season. They lost their Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams, to the NFL. And oh, by the way, they're walking into a brutal schedule. They've got the season opener against LSU in Vegas, a road game at Michigan as well. Jen, buy or sell the pressure on Lincoln Riley?
Yeah, the pressure is extraordinary. And guys, I am really hoping at the end of this whole thing, we are not talking about him being one of those gloriously overrated coaches. But here's the thing. He's 2-4 in season-ending bowl games. He is 0-3 in the college football playoffs. And oh, by the way, he's making $10 million. When you are making top-tier money, the expectation is that you are winning those types of games. You mentioned the schedule, Courtney. They actually don't play Oregon or Ohio State this season. That big game is LSU, and there are some reports that say that they were trying to get out of that game. Not a good look. Pressure is through the roof for him.
Clinton Yates on the USC and Lincoln Riley pressure.
Buying that the pressure is very high, selling the fact that this guy is connected to reality, talking about how USC just walks into the building and they're apparently something people should be afraid of. I was there when he said that we don't know unless we have trained eyes what's going on with their defense. I can tell you, losses to Utah and Tulane are going to be a problem. And that school, when they fire coaches, the AD goes as well. So if you're making $90 million, it's got to be a little bit more than just, trust me, I got it.
Harry Lyles Jr., what say you?
I don't know, those losses to Tulane and Utah were not bad losses, but I will say this about Lincoln Riley. He had a bad year last year, and all the criticisms of him from that year are fair, but we are talking about a guy that turned Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray into Heisman winners. Jalen Hurts was a Heisman runner-up, Caleb Williams in 22. Last year was bad, but if you're a USC fan, you need to remember how those last 4 years of Clay Helton went before you start thinking for the future.
And Bill Barnwell.
They could not field a top 90 defense in either of Caleb Williams' season. They were not good on offense last year around Williams. I have no expectation they'll be better without him this upcoming season.
All right, gotta go. Bill Barnwell, Jen Latta, thank you for your time today. Our showdown coming up next, Harry Lyles Jr. and Clinton Yates. The second showdown meeting between Clinton Yates and Harry Lyles Jr. Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa was present but limited in the team's first training camp practice. While hoping for a new contract, coach Mike McDaniel called Tagovailoa's participation, quote, fluid, and expects it to be limited for the foreseeable future. Today, he did not practice, but he was at the facility. Clinton, what do the Dolphins have on their hands?
I don't love this in terms of logic for Tua. It seems like he's basically saying, since all of my other friends have wedding rings, you should give me one too, referring to the guys that have gotten big deals. That does not necessarily make for a good partnership, Dolphins. Be careful.
Yeah, this seems like a relationship that the Dolphins kind of don't know how to get out of, but also don't know that anybody better is around. And it's very clear that they don't want to pay him, but this is only going to get more expensive for them. So I don't know what they're waiting on because there are no other clear options out there for them.
Well, I know what Tua's waiting on. The fact that Jordan Love has not signed his contract extension yet. Of course, Dak remaining unsigned as well. I like both your points, so we're going to split that one here. Moving on. Nationals utility man Ildemaro Vargas made his way to the mound against the Padres and, dare I say, wowed in a very unique way in his first opportunity to pitch this season. Vargas held San Diego scoreless in 1 inning after throwing 12 total pitches, one of them clocking in at 33 miles an hour. That was like my paper toss yesterday. Check out this form. Harry, what was your favorite part of his outing?
Courtney, this is very obviously about the most fuel-efficient gas that has gotten it out in Major League Baseball history. The fact that he got more than one ball across the plate going 33 miles an hour and one of them resulted in a pop fly, that is absolutely the best part about this.
Are you kidding me? This has to be the comebacker in the snag, grab, or stab portion of the game. Absolute stab that saved his face. That is not a play you're expecting to see on the mound, even if he is a utility ball player. Self-preservation, key to winning baseball games.
He's W, due for a win. Harry Lyles, take the FaceTime.
Thank you, Courtney. So Snoop Dogg was announced that he's going to be a torchbearer for the Olympics, which is great. Like, Snoop Dogg is a legend. I think he's going to be working with NBC during the Olympics. But there is another Southern California rapper that I think is better equipped for this moment, and it's Kendrick Lamar, because he literally just dominated an international conflict in his rap beef with Drake. So, you know, we can keep Snoop, but I'm just suggesting, throwing it out there, we might want to throw Kendrick in there just to let the rest of the world know that they are not like us.
I love it. Okay, we're going to try to do this better than yesterday. I've been told that reps help you do things better. So, paper
critical.
toss here. Clinton, I swear if you make fun of me, if this doesn't hit it, 95 and a half hour break.
Whoa,
We'll
let's go.
see
You
you
got
on
this.
Monday. Ooh,